Hi, everybody. Welcome to the first Fireside Chat of the day, which is with Claudia Cafeo, who is the founder of Floxies, a community for women in UX and UI. And that community now has 1,500 members. And that led on to her role where she is community manager at No Code Ops. But I will let Claudia tell you more about that. Hey, Claudia.
Hi everyone, happy Thursday.
Nice. How are you doing?
All good, all good. I mean, this has been a highlight of my week. I love community. I mean, we do it every day, like everyone here. And so to have just one day where you can focus on what you love and just share that knowledge with people is absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, love to hear it. Well, let's start with your community genesis story. How did you get into community management? Tell us.
Yeah, that's how much time do we have? I know this is a fast chat. So I've told this story, so many times. I'm sure most of people know, but flashback to 2020, so COVID, just like many people in the world. I was a primary school teaching assistant here in London. If you live or if you're from the UK, you might have noticed, that working in a school or hospital or anything public during the pandemic was absolutely chaotic, just to say the less. But so it was really hard. It was really stressful for me to work in a school during that time. And just like everyone else in the world, I guess I had a chance to stop and think about my own life. I needed a change because I had been helping people for the past 8 years back then, and I just reflected on my own life, and I just thought, okay, what else can I do? How can I scale this up? How can I help more people? How can I reach more people? And so I've always been quite a creative individual myself. I've always loved design, art, creativity, but I was never able to pursue that career because I come from a very traditional background where women, they need to study what a sort of career that would lead them towards a secure and safe job. And so back then, obviously, I'm talking to you about like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when I was at school. So I followed the traditional path. I became a teacher, but I've always wanted to get into the tech space. And so I guess that's how it started. During school, after work, I started looking at potential careers out there, and I came across this role of a UX designer, which to me really connected with what I was doing at school in terms of like transferable skills. I found it to be really interesting. And so I started studying UX UI design on the side after work, and then Webflow came along, fell in love with it. But I soon realized I was feeling quite overwhelmed from all that knowledge. I was feeling lonely. And I started outreaching online on social media for some mentors or, to just get some help. And again, as a woman, it hasn't been easy. We have to face so many challenges, pay disparity, underrepresentation, harassment, sexism, all of that. So, nevertheless, I come from a point of view that if you want to do something, you have to focus and just like look straight at that goal and try it all to achieve it. So, I'm quite stubborn. Um, and so, I guess, I didn't let those challenges stop me. And so that's when I left a message on a design group. And I thought, if these challenges, if this is what I'm facing, just coming from education, from, somebody who's never done design before, I'm sure that right now, during those times where everyone was kind of moving onto the online space, that same experience was happening to many other women out there. And so that's what I wrote down in a post on a Facebook group. I was like, hey, this is Claudia. I'm a teacher, but I would love to become a designer, and I'm studying this thing by myself. Are there any other women that would like to maybe join me, and we can study it together? We can be on this journey together. And so from that single message, I got about 70 replies. And so definitely I realized, there was a need there for a space like Floxies to be alive. And kind of very naturally, the community came along. So it started off with 70 people. And then in a year, just what you were saying, we got to 1,000 members. And I've always been, quite a nerd myself, a gamer. So I opened up a Discord server because that's, what I was familiar with, and kind of structured and built the community together with the people inside of the community. So I guess, that's a very squeezed up story of how Floxies got started and how I eventually became a community manager.
Yeah, definitely. And how did your role at No Code Ops come about?
Right. So that year working at Floxies, so I was doing Floxies on the side after work. I just loved it so much. It got the whole of me. And so I put a lot of effort, a lot of time into building Floxies. We were hosting webinars every week, events. We were active, very active, and we were getting more and more people joining us, which was great. And so I guess all of that positive noise around the community and the thing that we've built together, and also Webflow gave us a lot of recognition, which is amazing. I guess all of that good work attracted the attention from Philip Lakin, CEO at No Code Ops, who then reached out to me on LinkedIn and basically offered me a position as a full-time community manager there. They were coming from a newsletter with like 10,000 people, and Phil was like, hey, we really need to get a community going, and we love what you've done with Floxies. Would you like to interview? And so, I went through the whole process, and I can happily say I fully transitioned into community management from that experience.
Amazing. Um, so, what are some of your engagement tactics that you use? Because I know you've got one that's slightly unusual that people will enjoy hearing around.
Yeah. So again, bear in mind, big nerd, big gamer. So I love everything that is a little bit out of the box. So at Floxies, we use a metaverse. We have a virtual office, and so members of our community can access the office 24/7. We have a little co-working area where people can just go there and meet. So you have these little pixelated avatars, right? And you can create your own, and you can just join the room and co-work with other people. But also every Wednesday, we host live webinars with influential people from the design, the Webflow, the no-code space. And so we also have an auditorium inside of our office. And so we host these webinars every Wednesday to what we called our Wonder Wednesday. And yeah, people seem to love it because it really convey that sense of belonging. Like you're all together in a room, even if you're just like a little avatar, but just the fact that you can kind of like transpose yourself into something else, like a 3D pixelated thing, it just gives you the extra layer of, hey, yeah, I'm here in a room with, I don't know, other people. So it's just different, from your usual Zoom call.
Yeah, and is perfect for your audience as well.
Absolutely.
I've never been into the metaverse, so
I'd be happy to show you.
you have to show me one day. But is it a lot to manage, or you create it and then it grows itself?
So if you ever played Sims,
Yeah,
you can just like again be a little nerdy there and just like create your space however you want. You have to know a couple things about building a map. There's some. It depends how kind of like
okay.
advanced you want to go with it. You can start with the template as well and just like go live with it. But it's very easy to set up. So if anyone here, would like to have a look, I'm always very happy to show people around and give them some tips. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I think so. I think you'll get some takers for that.
and obviously, on top of that, we use Discord, which has all these features integrated within the platform. And so I host weekly kind of hangouts with the community where we just discuss any topics that might come up. We have show and tells, so people can show us their product and their projects as well. It depends because obviously I manage those two communities. So the strategies might be similar, but obviously the content is very different. So it's beautiful to see how everything can be connected and linked together, but it's also very important to always think about the audience that you're trying to serve as a community manager.
Really interesting. Thank you. What advice do you have to other community leaders out there?
Always be passionate about what you do. Always feel like, always nurture that little flame. So if you're in community management, it's because you love people, right? And so I always manage my communities under like the three key features or three skills that I think are super necessary. So like be kind, yeah, use a lot of empathy. So be inside of your community, don't assume, don't waste time, I guess, assuming solutions for your users. Just be inside of your community and talk to them and listen to them. So be kind, empathy, and listening are like the three main skills that I think should be really the core of your build. And so if you have those three skills, if you feel them as part of who you are, then always nurture them, always have that little flame going. Because when you start adding on top of that, obviously it depends, communities have all different paths and different kind of perspectives and point of view. It depends what kind of community you're managing, but always bear in mind why you're there to help people, you're there because you like people, you're there because you're trying to provide value, for someone else. And so always remember that, and always let that feeling lead your everyday work. I think that's the main thing that helps me, because sometimes it's very very easy to think about or get squashed by big words like KPIs and how do you align your community to your business, and all those kind of like, do you have any SOPs, all those little acronyms that can be a little scary. But at the end of the day, you're building a community with people and for people, and so that should be your first thought, and the feeling that leads your profession.
I love that. It really speaks to the soul of a community manager. I know we've got a few questions in, so I'm going to hop over because I think we've got time just to do a couple.
Yeah, this was quick, fire quick
I
chat.
know it goes quick, doesn't it? Which metric do you use to track engagement is the first question.
Yeah, so again, Discord has a feature that lets you analyze analytics, so like insights of your community. So that's built within the platform, and so I can track retention of new members that have joined. I can track conversations, and I can see, okay, this week we didn't get as many messages in the chat compared to last week. So it's really helpful to have such a tool with integrated analytics, I would say. So that's what I use. But I never make tools a thing for community, because people often ask me like, what's the best tool to build community? Well, that's very subjective to your community. I can't say, Discord is going to be great for you, I love it, but it depends what kind of community you have. So never make it about the tool, always go back to why you're doing it and who you're doing it for.
That's brilliant advice. So next, do you develop partnerships and collaborations in your role?
Yeah, I do. Because again, I love people, so the more the merrier. And yeah, I look after partnerships as well. Actually, I know CodeOps, we're partnered up with a couple educational agencies out there. So like 9X, we've done an API bootcamp with them. And we're also partnered up with Pretty Simple. We host office hours and an event called Automation Brew every Friday. So it's good to use partnerships as a way to engage your communities as well, because obviously you're building new opportunities for the community. And also at Floxies, we're partnered up with Bite Size UX, so they're coming. As for example, this month we're doing a whole month dedicated to UX workshops, and that's being provided by them and hosted by us. And so you use partnerships as a part of your engagement as well, because you're building as I was saying, new opportunities for the community. So they go together. And it's hard, when you're just one person like me, you have to wear so many hats. But I'm sure many people in the audience here might be in a similar position. So yeah, I hear you guys. Yeah, social media partnerships, events, it's all part of the job.
It is, isn't it? It's a busy, but we learn so much.
It's very
Um,
busy.
and then one last question we've got is, how do you keep yourself aligned with your values? So when you were talking about values earlier, how do you keep yourself aligned?
Yeah, I guess there are days that can be really hard. And so, just, when I was saying you can feel overwhelmed, especially if you have to wear so many hats and look after so many things, that you start losing track on what really matters. And so just going back to what I was saying, it's really nice. It could just be a message from one of your community members that really brings you back into that space. Just like, somebody saying to you, hey, Claudia, just wanted to tell you that this community changed my life, and all of a sudden you remember why you're doing what you're doing. And so that's how I stick to my values. I always look at the effect that what I'm building is having on other people, and that is what fuels me and what fuels my heart. So
Love that. Love that. Always bring it back to your heart. So nice. Awesome. Well, we're nearly at time. We've got a couple more minutes if anyone else has another question. So we've got one more coming. So we've got 2 minutes for it. So how do you ignite conversation in the community?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So we started doing, once again, you always ask I always ask for feedback to my community members. I always ask them, hey, this is great that everyone's here, but what can we do a little bit more of, for you? Like, what would you find more valuable? So something that came up in both communities was to have a weekly check-in. So every Monday, I post a weekly check-in with a little template for people to fill in, such as, how are you doing today? What will you be working on this week? Is there anything that we can help you with? And what will you do for yourself today? Because I always make sure that people balance, work life. They have that work-life balance. So I always ask them, what are you going to do for yourself this week? And so that's been really nice to see, to have that little routine every Monday, especially because Mondays are Mondays. And so you need to have something a little bit fun. And so that's been working really, really well to spark conversations. So then I can go back to them, say on a Thursday or Friday, and say, okay, so that thing that you were meant to work on, how's that going? Just like keep them accountable, be their accountability buddy. So it just sparks more conversation from that single routine, which is really nice to have. And again, it generates that sense of being comrade, just like all together.
Yeah, lovely. Sometimes the simple rituals is all you need. And I love that you're encouraging community members to ask for help, because sometimes you need to nudge people to ask for help. They might be thinking about it, but they need to be given a space or a channel to ask. So I love that you're doing that.
Yeah, and I always say to them, I always remind them, like, never think that something that you're sharing might sound stupid, or, never think that, because anything you share, somebody else might find really valuable. So anything that you share is a growth opportunity for someone else. So I always make a point of reminding them of that. And I don't know who's in the audience, but hi, everyone.
Nice. Well, that does bring us to the end of our 15-minute session. It flew by. Thank you for sharing so much amazing advice. But I think I'm going to take away the always stay true to your heart and your purpose as your guiding light. I love it. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.